Happy holidays and Merry Christmas. You're watching Drakewing Gaming. Oh, one moment. And enjoy the video.
Hey you guys and gals, Nary here from Drakewing Gaming, and studying Mount Twitter the Gaming Drag. Today I'm coming back at you with another Let's Play episode of Beyond the Harbor. So y'all, before we jump into it, I just wanted to let y'all know that our Patreon is now up for as little as $5. Y'all can help support the channel and get some awesome rewards like permanent access to our community Discord server and full access to upcoming not safe for work videos. Anyway y'all, let's go ahead and jump right back in. Alarm chain, you are up, and let's go, girl. Alright. I rolled my eyes at his awful jokes, awful joke timing, but decided it'd be in my best interest to shrug it off. The manager, much less enthused, sits back down at his desk and scrolls through a list of names on his computer. Sorry, sir. Hey, can you get some ice for the icebox? I turned my nose up at the cat's request. And risk running into the guy you pissed off? No way in hell. I'd spent the last 15 minutes trying to calm myself down after that incident and failing somewhat spectacularly. Ah, come on, I've seen people react way worse than that. He plops his skinny ass right next to me on my bed. He didn't even fire. Think about it. If it weren't for my quick thinking, you'd likely not be sitting here right now. He rests what was likely his favorite hand to sexually assault someone. He rests what was likely his favorite hand to sexually assault someone with on my knee, immediately setting me into alert mode. Don't tell me you pissed your pants and need to change. I squished my eyes shut before resting my fingers on my temples and releasing a painfully long sigh. My bladder was mercifully empty at that time. Never thought I'd say this, but bless the bus restroom. The cat responds by simply shrugging his shoulders. Well, it couldn't hurt to have a little check, Trust me, I'm a certified bladder inspector. God. Fuck off, you weirdo. Jesus. His hand begins to make a familiar trip up my leg before I intercept it with my own. Really? What's a scientific term for someone who specializes in urine? Cat's eyes go blank as the cogs in his head begin to turn. Penis doctor? I shake my head. A nice try, but no. Gonna have to retract your license. I pull his hand off of me, much to his own disappointment. Though I do recall you being an expert in one particular field. He tilts his head. How to give someone an orgasm? I smile. Maybe, but personally I'm much more interested in information that may lead to closing the case of Oliver Blanche. For a split second, I see the cat's lips drop into a frown before they curve into a smile. Well, I did say we'd talk when we got here, eh? Fair enough. He crosses his arms. Ask your questions. I'll answer what I can. He watches as I pull a small notebook out of my bag and flip it open. Let's see here. He looses a genuine chuckle as I click my pen. You take this stuff seriously, huh? I smile back at him, turning his favorite tactic against him. I take my detective work as seriously as you take your jokes, mister. He tilts his head, shrugging his shoulders and smiling back at me. My jokes. I respond with a quick nod before asking the most basic question of any interview. So, what's your name and age? His grin stretches further across his face. My name is Mike Hawk. Born June 9th, 1969. I smile back at him, though my half-lidded eyes contribute much more to my expression. And your real information? He shrugs. Don't you already know these things? I told you on Discord. Well, sure, but it's customary to start any interview with that. Oof, I almost slipped and called it an interrogation. He raises a brow at my request, but complies. Alright, name's Samuel Wong, born February 16th, 1996. I hide a smile behind my neutral expression. That info matches up with what he's already told me. Thank you. Next, what was your relationship with Oliver Blanche? He takes a second to think, even going as far as to rub his chin as the memories return to him. We were friends. His first real answer, and as far as I could tell, it was only a half-truth. I call his bluff. Really? Were you close? He shakes his head. Not terribly. I lock eyes with him. Oh, was he more of an acquaintance? Cat shrugs. Kind of. He smiles at me. I was the type that made it an effort to know everybody, especially people who catch my eyes. He winks at me. Ah, I see. I shrug off his obvious flirt, nodding my head and marking that note down. So, when was the last time you had any contact with him? The cat raises his chin to look at the ceiling, returning his eyes to mine after a few seconds. June of 2014. That was the last month I spent rolling around this town. The furious scribbling of my pen is the only sound that carries across the motel room, as I'm sure to catch every word. That was the year you graduated high school, yes? I barely scraped through, but crammed at the end of the year. After that, I moved back to Cali for a few months to stay with my mom. I see. What did you do after that? I flew back to Virginia, enrolled in VSU for the spring semester. Been living around the area since. Oh, VSU? What are you majoring in? Another question that doesn't help the investigation, but easy to answer questions are helpful to keep him talking. Good question, he smirks. But if you want an honest answer, I want to ask the same of you. What goals are you pursuing right now? I tap my pen against my notebook, doing my best to avoid spending too long dwelling on the question. Momentum is important during an interrogation, and every attempt he makes at increasing his own needs to be snuffed out. Well, I want to go into criminology, specifically investigation. A smile. I really like giving interviews, if you couldn't tell. He squints at me, though the stony smile never leaves his mouth as he does. I could have guessed as much. His eyes close completely, and his smile expands, making his pearly white teeth visible. Though you certainly have a long way to go in that department, I think. I tilt my head briefly before leaning closer to him. I don't disagree. That's why I want to get some practice in, after all. I attempt to smile back at him, but in the blink of an eye, he reaches forward and grabs my wrist. Like this, for example. When you're nervous, you start fiddling with this necklace you wear. I blink. Am I? I retract my hand as he loosens his grip on me. Surely enough, her ring was between my fingers. You know. Ah! I cough and compose myself. That's good advice, thank you. He slits his eyes again, this time flashing me a smaller but more genuine smile. Of course, I tagged along to help you, didn't I? Though, he presses a finger to his lips, thinking, I could go for some food. I blink at him again. Is it a reasonable time to eat? He shrugs. I haven't had anything to eat since... Well, I could go for something. It's what, 7:30? Reasonable time if you ask me. He smiles, using his thumb to point at the door behind him. We'll get some food and then go to see the beach. How's that sound? I think back to the last time I had eaten. It was a granola bar I ate on the bus around 6 a.m. My stomach erupts in a flurry of ravenous growls at the mere thought. Okay, deal. Oh god. Oh, it's cute. You're weird. I shrug my shoulders, shoving another handful of fries into my mouth. You're just like a buffer. The cat cocks an eyebrow. What? I chew about 7 times before swallowing the goopy mess of potatoes, grease, and ketchup. Ah, my little brother says the same stuff. He squints at me. Of course he does. Any sane person would. You've eaten like 3,000 calories worth of food. I blink my eyes rapidly, losing the gist of the conversation when staring at the feline's mostly untouched tray of food. Speaking of, you gonna eat that? I pointed at his chicken sandwich, missing no more than 2 possible bites. He doesn't even break eye contact with me before he shoves his tray across the table. My escort had spent nearly the entire dinner scrolling through his phone, occasionally twirling a french fry between his fingers. Regardless, I smile at him before taking a bite out of his former dinner. He smiles back, a look of interest sparkling in his pale blue eyes. Well, at least you're weird in a cute way. I shrug my shoulders, swallowing the thoroughly chewed food. I could say the same for you. I've never met anybody so interested in clickbait articles about the top 10 spirits you won't believe were truly caught on camera. Number 7 will shock you. He slits his eyes at me, but his lips remain curled in a smile. Number 7 didn't shock you? I chuckle, but before I can retort, he cuts me off. And more importantly, you're admitting you find me cute. I shrug my shoulders, smile not leaving my face. Did I say that? Or did you hear a ghost say it? He folds his arms, but this time it's my turn to cut him off. So, I've been going through what you told me about him earlier, but I still haven't put the pieces together yet. Tell me a bit more about Oliver. He tilts his head to the side, clearly analyzing my words. You mean to tell me what I said earlier wasn't enough? His voice is dripping with sarcasm, but I refrain from interacting with it for the time being. Come on, surely there's more that you can still tell me. What, like how big his dick was? I blink. If I had to guess, 6 inches. I saw him with a hard-on once, but that stupid hoodie he always wore was in the way. Wait, I can work with that. He always wore a hoodie? Was it special to him? The cat leans back in his seat, closing his eyes and getting comfortable. He did, yeah. After he and Dawn started dating. Dawn, you mentioned that name in the car. They were dating? The cat chuckles at my response. Barely. They dated for maybe a week or 2 before Dawn pieced out. I fold my arms. Pieced out how? He left town, dropping out of high school and never came back, according to all the rumors. But Ollie kept wearing the hoodie after Dawn moved away? Yeah, I graduated a grade ahead of him, but for those 2 years I never saw him without it. He was odd. Something about him was always off, but I'm not just talking about the way he smelled. So he was like... I'm cut off by the cat shrugging his arms and frowning, his eyes wide open. Nobody knew, and all the time I knew him, I'd never seen him eat, or even go to the bathroom for that matter. People joked that he was an alien all the time. Space rat. That's what most people called him. The cat takes a sip of his drink. Maybe he was an alien. He disappeared because he went back to his home planet. I frown. So people picked on him. Was he regularly bullied? The cat shakes his head. No, not for lack of trying, though. Oh? Sam leans back in his seat again, locking his hands behind his head. First of all, it was impossible to get a reaction out of him. That's what bullies really wanted. But the bigger reason, he was under V's watch. The excitement swells in my chest as I make a connection. V, you mentioned her earlier, too. He nods. Bingo! V was one of his only friends. And Don? Where did he fit into this? He shakes his cup, and upon hearing only ice remaining, sets it back on the table. That's another story in itself. He rolls his head on his shoulders until it releases a satisfying crack. Ready to blow this joint? I could go for a walk. I scrunch my eyebrows together, frowning. Are you sure? I have more questions. I lost my cool after getting excited. He's clearly caught on to it. His grin widens as he flicks his tail at me from across the table. Ooh, keep your pants on. We've got all the time in the world. Huh? He licks his chops, the look of voracious hunger reappearing in his eyes. Or, you could take your pants off. I smile back at him, cooling my detective's art. You want me to embarrass myself in public? I'll pass, thanks. Yeah, this guy knows a lot more than he's letting on. I can already tell that. Holy shit. Gentle waves lap at the shore as a soft evening breeze blows across the empty harbor. It carries with it the light scent of the ocean and the taste of salt. I've never been to the ocean before. The cat, standing just a few steps behind me, chuckles. It's not the ocean, dumbass. This is the Chesapeake Bay. I shake my head. Close enough, I think. I walk a bit further from him, closing the distance between myself and the massive body of water. My feet sink a bit further into the sand with every step, and, despite the season, there's a peculiar warmth my toes find very pleasant. Second, y'all. Water time. It stands in stark contrast to the chilly lingering in the breeze. I can almost feel long, cold fingers tapping on my back. Faced with the enormous body of water directly ahead of me, I stare out in awe. The allure of the ocean captivates my every cell, and the desire to throw myself into it and discover its mysteries overpowers my body and soul. So, the spot, it was special to him? The cat mumbles quietly behind me. From what I could tell, yeah, I'd seen him out here pretty regularly. He walks closer to me and pulls my attention from the water by resting his hand on my shoulder. Over there on the dock, he'd sit there and stare out across the harbor. With his free arm, the cat points to a decrepit-looking dock, eroded after what was likely many years of disuse. Gently, I lift the cat's arm off of me before lifting my feet out of their sand tomb and making my way over to the dock. Within a few short paces, I can hear the cat's quiet footsteps behind my own. My eyes remain fixed on the creaking wood beneath my feet as I step up onto the raised wood. At Sam's suggestion, we'd left our shoes in his car since getting the sand out of them would be a nightmare, but seeing the splintered wood beneath my feet now causes an urgent sense of regret throughout my body. Still, hungry for answers, I pressed on. It wasn't a long walk to reach the end of that dock, and any boat that would moor here couldn't have been large. Why build a harbor here in the first place? Questions like these raced through my mind as I stood at the embrace of the sea, my thoughts occasionally broken up by the sound of a particularly large wave crashing against the dock and making it sway. So, what are you thinking? I gently shake my head. Everything is off about this place. I hear him prop himself up against a particularly creaky stake, barely holding the dock together. Alright, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and pause it right there. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring the notification bell, and check out our Patreon if you can. It always helps. Anyway, before I go, I'm going to give a quick shout out to our lovely bronze tier patrons. Thank you all for all you do for the channel. We greatly appreciate your support. Thank you to our silver tier patron, Cade Silvermoon. Thank you for going a bit above and beyond. It's greatly appreciated. And thank you to our gold tier patron, Amr. You're awesome. We love you. Thank you for subbing to our ultimate tier. Anyway, if y'all want your names in the credits and access to our not safe for work contents as little as $5. Alrighty, I love you all, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye!